All right. Curtis Houck and Eric Bolling coming in today. First up, Curtis is coming in here. A very interesting day for him to come along. As you know, Curtis is the NewsBuster managing editor and also the Media Research Center News Analysis Division. He chronicles the best and the worst of, amongst other things, the evening news broadcast. But he is here to see through or try to make sense of the fake news, quite literally. We've got a lot going on with Graham Platner today. Here's what's sort of been lined up against him. The tattoo scandal. It's a Nazi tattoo. A cheating scandal. A sex assault scandal. Another sex assault scandal. And maybe he's been fooling around on an app that is exclusively for teenagers. He denies it. We'll see. Media's double standard has been in full effect for quite some time when it comes to this gentleman. And certainly you've got all the video of his supporters lining up to talk about how wonderful man he is, a man of great character. Perhaps not. And it seems like rape and manhandling a woman is where they finally drew the line, even though the New York Times carefully tried to come to his defense, that it was just sort of, most people really thought he was fun and nice, and it's just sort of kinds of things that happen in a relationship. What are you going to do? Wow. And then Eric Bolling will be in here, a host of TheEDGE, New York Times bestselling author. His analysis on this, and also flock cameras. These are going up in all over the place. And one official has actually bragged, you can't get a breath of fresh air without them knowing. Follow Eric on X, Eric Bolling, Bolling, Eric with a C, and Curtis Houck, Houck, right after this.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Once again, Curtis Houck is the NewsBusters managing editor at the Media Research Center's News Analysis Division. Best and worst of the evening news, amongst other things, primetime cable shows, late-night comedy programs. From January 2016 to April, he acted as the Sunday news analyst for NewsBusters. He lives presently, he was a native of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. How do you like my pronunciation, Curtis? And he is presently living in Virginia, Alexandria. You can follow him, as I said, on X. It is Curtis with a C, Houck, Houck on X, and mrc.org. Curtis, welcome back.
Hey, good to be with you as always.
So, the interesting day for you to show up here. We were booked you quite in advance, not knowing this would all come down. Let me just give me, if you wouldn't mind, your 30,000 view overview on what has happened here and what is happening now.
Yeah, with Graham Platner, it's very Biden-esque in their refusal to mention, at least on the network newscasts, any number of Platner scandals, because certain ones, like the tattoos, have been in the public zeitgeist for months, almost a full calendar year since he really started gaining traction in Maine. But it wasn't until June 1st of this year that ABC, CBS, or NBC mentioned it on one of their main weekday shows, that there was anything wrong with this guy, that this guy even existed, that this darling that had been all over cable news was a broadcast fixation. And that was a tell in it as well. And my favorite part in all of their coverage was talking about the Nazi tattoo. They would say, some say resembles a Nazi tattoo. Or many say it resembles a Nazi tattoo. And you're like, this is a yes or no question, Dr. Drew. You know, it's one of those things. And so it percolates down to all the other things.
It's so striking to watch this in real time. So you brought up the Biden-esque quality of this whole thing. I completely agree with you. That's one of the first thing that occurred to me. And tell me if you could make sense of the time frame of these. I don't know what to call them. The evolution of the news news reporting. So in Biden's case. Look, I sat on the sideline going, hey, this guy's got Parkinsonism. There's a cognitive. It's just obvious. Anyone with the third year medical school training would know this. It is ridiculous. And you're on the sideline saying it. Then other people start saying it. And it's no, it's a deep fake. He's never been smarter. He's sharp as a tack, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it collapses. Like one night, it can't be hidden anymore because the whole world saw it at the debate. I would argue I had seen exactly that 30 times before over the preceding year, but all of a sudden, somehow they couldn't hide it. What is it about those breakthrough moments that this is also a breakthrough moment? How do those happen? What are they? Why can't we make them happen sooner? So we have to sit around on our hands for 2 years.
Right. And I think it comes down to what we're seeing now with Jenny Racicot, the former ex-girlfriend who is an admitted progressive herself, has come out and spoken to Politico and CNN. A Politico story hits, and then a CNN interview with Jake Tapper airs about 2 hours later because Platner has a week from yesterday to drop out. That then the Maine Democrat Party could replace him with another candidate for the November election. And she sees this, that she wants to defeat Susan Collins. So she's willing to step out right at the last possible moment to minimize the maybe personal attacks that she's probably facing from Platner supporters and people just writ large on the internet, and any threats that may come her way. To try and force his hand, because it's clear that these other things, as you laid out at the beginning, the text messages, the tattoo, being on the Kick app, which is not really something adults go on unless you have, let's just say, nefarious intent purposes of meeting young children. It is for a thing for pedophiles. And the Lindsay Fifield story, I know Lindsay, which just within the last few minutes before we came on there, Washington Post dropped a story saying that they had sex multiple times during their relationship and he had removed condoms without her consent. To go that personal and that graphic in nature shows that people are very serious and that the news media have not done their job in applying pressure to this guy. And the text messages that he was sending to other women after he was married, that none of those exits and the primary date for Maine voters, they kept going, the car kept moving down the highway. And so the spike strips, in all these women just haven't worked. So I think we're now at the 11th hour in terms of trying to force him out of the race. And as of now, he doesn't seem to be buckling.
I still find these collapses where I just remember Van Jones right after the Biden debate just going, oh my God, I just wonder what's going on in his head. Like, I can't deny it anymore. I see it. And why it takes so much for them to see it. You and I were talking before the cameras heated up here about the interview at CNN with the woman who wrote the New York Times article. I mean, she was twisting herself into pretzels to try to defend Platner, including, there was a piece of it, I don't know if we have it to air, probably don't, but there was a piece of it where she said, but let's consider when you have someone like Trump bragging that he grabbed women by the genitals. That's not what he did. He was saying—
It's a logical fallacy.
He's what he was. First of all, yeah, you can't. They're not bowling balls. You can't do that. Number one. Number two, what he was saying was to Billy Bush, it's weird being on TV that women kind of will let you do things to them. Even they want, they're so taken with somebody on television. That's what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about what he had done, what he would do. He was talking about this behavior. And it's the same thing he said when he said, I could walk down the street and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Same exact idea, not that he shot someone on Fifth Avenue. So the fact that she dredged that up was shocking to me.
Jodi Kantor absolutely lit her credibility on fire. This is the woman who had her life turned into a movie about her reporting vis-a-vis Harvey Weinstein. She is the dean of Me Too reporting. And she comes out and says, well, the allegations from, Lindsay and Jenny here and other ex-girlfriends to different outlets are just things that they say that they don't like that he was doing, that he was basically a bad boyfriend.
That's exactly what she said. That's exactly what she said.
He was being a bad boyfriend. I didn't like the way he was behaving around me, as if to say that that's just some sort of disagreement.
Me Too, but before what she did to create Me Too, that actually kind of was a argument that people would have. You know what I mean? They would just kind of go, they were still together. But that has been all flipped over. These are now rapes and domestic violence. We get it. Fine. Good job. You did that. Yeah, fine.
Right.
Now what are you trying to do? Nuke the whole thing you've done? The whole project has to go under because of this guy?
Yeah, the left always tries to say that conservatives and libertarians and whatnot are always trying to turn back the clock on American culture and American society when, as you just point out, Jodi Kantor co-opted the kind of language that I think all of us, at least people among polite society, would say, yes, that's the talk of abusers or people who defend abusers. That's the kind of thing that we don't want in our society. So the news media in this one, I think they're also scared of their base. I think that's another important point too, Dr. Drew, in all this, that voters want blood. There was a story in Axios last summer that said as much, that they want skin in the game in this situation. That came up after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So I think the left and their media allies are terrified of the Mondami side of the party that is surging in numbers as we see the primary results across the country.
Speaking of that, do you have any idea what Trump meant when he said we're going to stop that those communists? We're just going to stop them. That can't be allowed to get a foothold.
Well, I didn't really have anything in particular as far as maybe other than the Justice Department maybe looking at and targeting, the funding to see if it's getting foreign donations or any sort of campaign finance violations. But other than that, I would assume it's more just kind of about the battle of ideas and beating people at the ballot box. I mean, the media, that's the other fun part that when they have been covering, when not covering Graham Platner, they're saying, oh, Trump is raising this Red Scare. He's trying to turn back the clock to 1950, Joseph McCarthyism. And to that I say, I'm like, Mamdani and some of his allies have talked many times about seizing the means of production. Well, what does that mean? Yeah. Like how else should we interpret that other than straight out of the Communist Manifesto?
Yeah. Yeah. And his, remember his, wasn't she the real estate or rental czar, was on the record saying there should be no personal property. No such thing.
Yeah, no property, prisons, all that stuff. Abolish Daria Eliza, talking about abolishing borders and whatnot too. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just so much lack of understanding of historical antecedents and human behavior. It's just as a complete denial of two facts. And if you don't pay attention to those facts, the facts have a way of setting things straight. They'll let you know about it. You can't just make the world bend to your will. I have another, speaking of the world bending to your will, I've got a question. This is a bit of a record scratch for a different topic, but while I'm thinking of it, why does the media want to attack Elon Musk so much?
I mean, I think because he's a billionaire who doesn't bend to their wills. He's not a George Soros. He doesn't have his hand or sticking his hand in all of their coffers and depositing money into it. He's successful. He's unapologetically pro-American. Is obviously someone with a heritage not from this country, from South Africa. So he is living the American.
Wouldn't he be, if you were going to have a other than Soros type billionaire, wouldn't Elon Musk be the other kind of billionaire you want? Lives in a small house. Yeah. He just creates jobs. He doesn't flaunt or spend his money anywhere. He creates stock value for all his employees. I mean, he's exactly what they should want. I don't understand. And he's going to, build things and create energy and all these things that they want.
I mean, his employees that have stuck with him and that invested in the company became millionaires themselves overnight when SpaceX went public. This is something that we should be celebrating. One of the greatest human achievements this century, sending people back to the moon, orbiting the moon, but going to the moon nonetheless with the Artemis 2 mission. That was possible because of Elon Musk and SpaceX, that he had a dream. And people say, oh, he's kind of weird. He's had different relationship issues. He's had all these different children with different women. They throw all these sorts of allegations at him. And you look back talking about history, to your earlier point, you look through history, all of those different thinkers and visionaries of America's first 250 years, a lot of them weren't exactly kind of on the straight and narrow, because that's kind of who visionary types are. If you get into kind of different personality tests or the Enneagram and whatnot, that those kinds of people, that they may be all the way up here, but they may not have other things together. But all that aside, though, it is disgusting to see, and how the left in particular, one of the newest things my colleague Jorge Bonilla has taken notice of is anytime there's a crash, it doesn't matter what city it's in. It could be in a city with 50 people. Anytime there's a crash involving a Tesla over the last couple of months, there's a story nationally about it. And because, there was a Tesla involved, was a self-driving, part involved. Oh, by the way, this was Elon Musk's company. And by the way, Elon Musk has said everything is safe. And Elon Musk is a friend of Donald Trump. Those stories don't happen just because they think it's interesting or they consider something news. It's all about driving narratives, which is what we saw with Joe Biden, which is what we see with really most stories out there right now, whether it's even the U.S. soccer team losing, that they lost because of Donald Trump. If there's a narrative, the media will run through a brick wall in order to get it across to the public.
Well, I want you, when you come back from break, I want you to tell me more about what driving narrative means. It's one of the strangest ideas for me, other than finding and reporting the truth. It's just the strangest thing to me. And we've got a call on hold. Maybe we can get to Rick in a few minutes. But there's so much about our present moment that is mysterious to me. And one of them is this idea that reporting is no longer, it's reporting a narrative that's in your head, not a narrative that emerges from the facts, right? Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, who's up, who's down. I think people want the quick fix, and this is what the media think or they believe should be presented to you instead of simply letting things develop.
All right. Curtis Houck is here. You can follow him on X, Curtis Houck, mrc.org. We'll be right back. A little more Curtis after this. If there was ever a time to be rationally ready, it is now. I urge you to consider getting one of the emergency kits from the wellness company, because TWC has 7 different kits that are customized for a variety of situations. Wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at each, considering, say, what we've just been through in California with the fires. I was happy to have the field kit on hand, and the Contagion kit in particular is suited for what is being predicted to be the next outbreak. That would be the H1N5 or avian or bird flu. Of course, the same experts from the COVID era are freaking out about this potential pandemic. But don't panic. Just arm yourself with the meds you might need if this comes to pass. Contagion Emergency Kit contains ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, Tamiflu, and budesonide, an inhaler that is good for airway reactivity and tightness, as well as reducing viral replication in the airways. Go to drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off your purchase.
Hey, Dr. Drew here. When I am traveling, I am always so grateful that we bring along Paleo Valley products. This is the grass-fed venison, which is delicious, one of my favorite. Also, they have the grass-fed and finished beef as well, with chicken and pork. And the superfood bars, which have saved me a million times. It's made from the bone broth, which again is 100% grass-fed finished beef bone broth, and it's made from real bone, not hides, and other superfoods within this bar, including blueberries and cashews. Check the label. This is a great supplement and wonderful to have on hand when we're traveling.
Dr. Drew said the best way to quit drinking is by going cold turkey, and he's a doctor, so why would you question doctors?
Dr. Drew called me unfixable.
So before I bring Curtis back in here, I want to talk to those of you who are over 65 on Medicare or just getting into it. You might be close. Staying healthy, of course, is tough, but the Medicare plan should not make it even harder to stay healthy, and yet it always does. It's confusing. Millions of people are on the wrong plan, don't even realize that they're wasting money or they're not getting the services they want. I spent 40 years treating Medicare pay. I still do it. I'm a provider, and now I'm a patient, and I cannot tell you, on both sides, Medicare is impenetrable. It's so confusing. And that's why I got behind Chapter. They're an independent, you get real human advisors, not a call center, no chatbot. They compare all the plans nationwide. They'll sit down, look at all your doctors or prescriptions, work with you, find the plan that fits your needs. If you're already in the right one, they will tell you. I had them evaluate my and Susan plans. There was a little bit of adjusting, but turned out we were doing it right. But we didn't even know it. And again, I'm a provider, 40 years of providing for Medicare patients, and it's impenetrable. That's why I was so happy to see Chapter come along. It can really help people navigate. And on average, Chapter users save about $1,100. It's all free. It just takes 20 minutes, no pressure. It sounds too good to be true. That's what I thought. We used it. It's not too good to be true. You can call Chapter at 218-521-2472. Again, 218-521-2472. Write that number down. It's on the screen. Call them before you may have to make a decision that you can't take back, because that's the other thing about Medicare. Suddenly you're in some plan that you can't get out of. So these guys can help you. I was so glad to see them come along. And so give them a call. All right, Curtis Houck, again, he is the NewsBusters managing editor at the Media Research Center's News Analysis Division. And we're walking through some of the fake news and scandals of the day. Again, Biden, Platner, these are all good examples of the way the sort of so-called mainstream media runs a smokescreen. And you said it is pushing a narrative, what is up and what is down. I can't understand why press isn't embarrassed that they allow a narrative in their head to take precedent over the facts. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have is we get a lot of journalists nowadays that want to be activists, that if you ask a lot of young journalists or journalists in J school right now, applying for journalism degrees, they'll say they want to get into journalism because they want to change the world. They want to affect change, that they want to right wrongs, so on and so forth. And the answer to that question is it's just wrong. If you want to do that, become a judge. If you want to help people in need, become a social worker. Go into medicine like you have.
Or look, change the world by uncovering some scandalous facts or fraud or corruption, right. We'd love, that's always what press did. We'd love to hear from you.
Muckraking.
To press muckraking, to press something that's in your head and then force the story to comply with that, comport with your notion of how a story should be. That's brainwashing. That's propaganda, top to bottom, right?
Yeah. So during the break, I came up with some words that you typically will hear when they're kind of usually creating a narrative instead of actually just simply presenting the facts. Anytime there's a story where they say something just won't go away, the story won't go away. They're bedeviled. Someone is bedeviling President Trump. The Epstein scandal is bedeviling the second administration. Someone is dogged by something. If there's outrage.
Anything with a dog whistle, dogged by.
Yeah, or growing questions. Who's raising the growing questions? Oh, I know. It's the news media themselves. It's not the general public. Very rarely, like in this case of Platner within the last 24 hours, growing questions from people who had supported him. But most of the time, if you're saying something like that, if you're using dog, bedeviled, it's a growing controversy, growing outrage. It's usually media driven. Who is the source of these things? Very often in those news stories, if you watch them, they can't really answer that question. Why? Because they are themselves the source of it. And obviously growing big stories such as weather, obviously they affect the world around us. Okay, that's just one example. But instead, if you want to go to intrepid journalism and ask questions, talk about being dogged, you want to talk about fraud.
Yeah, but you mentioned
government fraud.
You mentioned weather, but every weather story implies some climate story. Everyone, they can't just report the weather. They have to always just nod at, oh, it's never been like this before. This is the first time in a long time. It's bedeviling how bad it is.
Or 40 million lives at risk tonight, and that's when you get into the sensationalism. You get into the grocery store tabloid, and you get like 6 teases, like it's an episode of Inside Edition instead of, here's the news tonight.
Right. God, you're so right. Let me ask a couple of other questions. Mitch McConnell, is he still with us? Is he comatose? Didn't his wife went to visit Vance? I heard somewhere, maybe. I don't know if that actually happened, but I heard that. What do we know?
Yeah,
or do we know anything?
The latest is Scott Jennings, my buddy, former advisor to Mitch McConnell, came out today, put out a tweet saying he spoke to him for about 20 minutes about Iran, and he named a few other issues that are in the news, that he said he's in good spirits, looking to recover, but not really any more particular details. Some of the allegations out there about him, that he had collapsed, that CPR may have been involved, that EMTs were rushed to his home because somebody was unconscious, or somewhere that he had been, all very serious and concerning. And this goes down to special election. That's the reason that I think this is being covered up in terms of the timing of why you're not really hearing anything in terms of when it could trigger a special election versus someone being appointed, because you have a Democrat governor in that state. So that's part of the calculus, I think.
Got it. So let's be fair, though. The things that the witnessed events I have seen, medical events in front of cameras, are completely consistent with him being down, being unconscious, possibly even needing electricity to reset his heart rhythm. I mean, all that very, very possible. But being in coma, being on life-sustaining sort of measures for no good reason would impossible for him to speak if that were the case. So the fact that he's speaking, and you're telling me we can trust Scott Jennings to have spoken the truth? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would trust Scott. I mean, he's a really good friend, and he's someone who would definitely be in the know when it comes to Mitch McConnell.
Okay. The other thing, I don't know if you're watching French politics at all, but Marine Le Pen's her court case got overturned by an appeals court. It sounded to me like primarily around the issue of availability of essentially taking someone that the people want away from them. That seemed to be one of the central issues. And she's going to be back to running for president. But I also see that they keep talking about her wearing a bracelet. Is that a metaphor? Is that for real? Is she having a boot on or something?
Yeah, I don't know about that part, but you definitely do see this anti-democratic move in Europe. Obviously, next door in Germany, the AfD, the alternative party in Germany, has been surging in the polls because the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats, the two left, center, right parties, have been floundering, not delivering for the German people for so long. And because the AfD is considered far right, there's obviously, oh my gosh, this is Nazism, talk about fascism, so we need to ban these people from the ballot. And over in France, yeah, there's definitely been all of these legal wranglings, and you would definitely say if you're in Le Pen's camp, lawfare against you to prevent you from participating in the democratic process. Now that's being tossed out. One of her lieutenants was going to run, but now she can run herself. I think definitely with all of the dissatisfaction in places like France with Macron around the economy, mass migration across all of Central Europe, things are looking up for her at the next election.
Yeah. So she and Jordan Bardella have always been a team, and she pushed him out in front for president. They had a wink and a nod that if she gets in a position where she can run again, she'd go back. She's one of my favorite orators. If you speak French at all, you should listen to her speeches. They are magnificent. And she's speech with such great clarity, you can understand everything, not the way so much of conversational French is. But there's one thing that keeps going in Europe. I spoke to a French guy this is just so interesting to me, in a little town down in the south of France. And he was a waiter waiting on me, and a waiter. And I said, hey, he started talking about politics. I said, well, what do you think of Marine Le Pen? And she goes, oh, far right, crazy nut job, far right. And I thought, wow. And then I said, what about Mélenchon, is a nut job? He's an avowed communist. And he goes, oh, he's just a traditional leftist. Nothing unusual to see there. And I thought, oh my goodness, is this lack of understanding or vision or historical reference points, it's all just kind of shifted in some weird way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is media driven. We see that in the United States with our media, the way certain people are framed. You look at these Mamdani-backed candidates, democratic socialists or progressive candidates, not socialists or communists. But when it comes to conservatives, it's far right, hard right, extreme right, and all those connotations and the intonation with which the journalists speak, especially in television news, can tell so much more than a transcript or a written story could in terms of their diction and their delivery, in terms of what they're trying to convey about a particular person. And if it's someone you don't know anything about, whether you're a low information voter, you're just not active in the democratic process, when you hear someone speak in a negative way about someone, and you may trust that person because you're a local news anchor, or you may not know a lot about the news, so you just think CNN and everything on CNN must be trustworthy, they may then think twice about whomever that candidate is.
Eric Bolling is standing by here. I want to bring him in. Eric, of course, he's one of the founders of The Five. He's a host of TheEDGE, two-time New York Times bestselling author. You can follow Eric, A-R-I-C, Bolling, B-O-L-L-I-N-G. Eric, welcome back. I don't know if you and Curtis know each other, but I hope you've been listening to this conversation. I figured you'd have some input here, too. Oh, we don't have sound. We don't have sound for you yet, Eric. I don't know if that's on our end or...
Are we good? Are we good? You got me now?
The Edge guy. There you are.
There we go. Yes, Curtis. I was saying Curtis is a wonderful reporter. Always gets the great scoops. And I've known Curtis probably a dozen years or so. Yeah. So good to be on with you, Curtis. Great reporting on... Well, the only thing I would push, I love all your stuff about all the things you guys started talking about. With regards to Mitch McConnell, I am original gangster MAGA, and we are waiting for proof of life. I mean, when I talk about life, I talk brain activity with Mitch McConnell. And I know Scott's a good man. I know Scott very well, but he is also I believe he's interested, in my opinion, interested in running for that Senate seat at some point. And I think that may be, if the reportage is Scott Jennings only, I would say maybe we second source that, because I've heard.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Let's say, one of the things that is being advocated on the right is behave more like the left. And so maybe this is Scott's first foray into just abject lying.
Well, they're just playing out the string. I think that's the other thing too. He's not running for re-election. In November, there's going to be a general election for his successor. So I think maybe that's part of the equation as well, appointing someone to a seat for only a few months. And having a special election. Do we want to go through that? I think that's probably part of the calculus as well, that they just want to hang on. You don't have to like it, but I think that's probably what the thinking is around that.
There maybe should be something further, some sort of medical litmus test to kind of check to see if these folks are actually functioning fully on full brain power.
Oh, well, now you're advocating something that's pretty complicated, but no, there's no way he is or has been. I mean, anybody with eyes can see he's struggling. Whether or not he actually has impaired judgment or is disorganized or disoriented, I can't say, but I have seen him have essentially seizure and syncope and all kinds of neurological symptoms that are, these sort of absence spells where he's frozen. This is serious shit.
Scary.
And that one of those easily could go to arrest. I mean, easily.
If the state of California, if the state of California can, petition or test Paul Pelosi if he's capable of driving further, you would think that the federal government would be able to have some sort of test to make sure our very octogenarian and other.
Your mouth to God's ears. I agree. I think at least a mini mental status exam, if not a Montreal inventory. But those two things, for me, two things that are making our government not function. It's qualified immunity, Because if these people could actually be held accountable for these horrible decisions they make and lack of ability to ascertain whether somebody's psychiatrically ill or neurologically ill, those two things are very serious. And we don't do anything about either.
Why do we have term limits for a president, but not Congress and Senate? Tell me.
Crazy.
And it's only going to get worse, as more and more baby boomers reach well past retirement age now, into the decades where things like Alzheimer's and sort of, just mental incontinence and a lot of things that we're seeing, are going to become more prevalent in our body
Curtis,
politic.
that was an attack on me and Eric, just so thank you for that. The mental incompetence part, particularly. But I want to go back to the first topic we were talking about, the Platner story. And Eric, I'm curious. We'll talk more about it when I let Curtis go. But when we have Curtis here, I think it might be a chance to drill into this a little bit. The fact that the press was running a screen, and Curtis opened with this, and I think he's absolutely right, very similar to what they did for Biden. And then one thing happens that is sort of incontrovertible evidence of what everyone's been saying, and then their whole thing collapses, and then they run the other side of the boat. What is your take on is this just press behavior as usual? Is this something we have to get used to?
I have two comments, two thoughts on this. First being first of all, let's give some credit here to Politico for actually running a story that, I don't know, in the past I would have said they may have sat on until after the election, but they didn't. They pushed it out there. New York Times put the story out there about, I believe, a couple of years ago, but then Politico followed up on it. Adam Wren was the reporter. Curtis is the guy who's reported on the media forever. He can certainly weigh in on that. But I will tell you, as far as the politics go, this is standard operating procedure for Democrats. They will stay with the most awful, atrocious people who are accused of horrible things on their side. They'll stay with them until they become a problem. Once they become a problem, then they realize that they better circle the wagons around someone else, get the person who's the problem out. I'll give you the example. You mentioned Joe Biden, sure, Kamala Harris, we know that one. But more recently, Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell was doing very well in the state of California, Doc. You know this. Until they realized that Swalwell was going to now somehow divide the vote, which could have been Katie Porter. She became irrelevant because of her demeanor. So he was going to divide the vote with Ruben Gallego. And they said, you know what? This is our opportunity to get one Democrat, one name, face forward on the ballot and go up against the conservative, Steve Hilton. And so they got Swalwell out, and they got it through the very similar methods. Pelosi first, then it was Hakeem Jeffries who said, we're not going to go. They were defending Swalwell up until the moment they all decided no longer worth defending. And once Barack Obama put his stamp of approval on removing Swalwell, like he likely did with Joe Biden a year earlier, or year and a half earlier, whatever, I think that's when they do it. But you take the same situation on the right, someone's accused of something before it's actually even proven. The left will just say, get rid of him. He's horrible. She's horrible. They're terrible. They're bigoted. They're anti-women. They're criminals. But when it's on their side, they just wait until it becomes a risk to them winning a seat, an electable seat.
Yeah, that's
Curtis,
exactly right.
I'm going to let you go with final thoughts here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They don't necessarily care. Then they don't care at all, actually, about the reality, the facts of whether something is incontrovertible or not. There was talk yesterday on MS Now. Someone said, well, the Democrats didn't do vetting on this guy. They didn't do any vetting. They didn't seem to know anything about him. This is a huge failure. And no, I don't think this is a failure. It's that they got caught, that you saw on MS Now, that you saw on X yesterday, all within an hour. All the same liberal pundits and progressives that were holding him up saying, he's fine, are now adopting the same verbiage about that this guy has to go. Chris Hayes even came on last night with Rachel Maddow and said, well, I didn't really seem to believe him anyway when I had him on. Did you say that in the moment, Chris? I don't think so.
Right, exactly. Curtis, where do you want people to find you?
Newsbusters.org, and on X, I'm at Curtis Houck, all one word. I got a big story coming out tomorrow. 1 year of the Epstein files. over 27 hours of coverage. So I'll have that out in the morning.
Wow, fantastic! Congratulations. We'll see you soon. And
Thanks,
then
sir.
Eric, we'll bring you back right after this little break.
Hey, Dr. Drew here, and we are interested in health and longevity, and the longevity nutrient is Fatty 15, discovered amazingly by a veterinarian who was responsible for the Navy's fleet of dolphins. Turns out dolphins are healthier when they have adequate amounts of pentadecanoic acid, which is C15. It also, for us, it helps humans as well, reduces the oxidative stress on our cell membranes, which is part of the aging process, called ferroptosis. So she takes it, I take it, whole family takes it. And if you'd like some, go to drdrew.com/fatty15 for yours. There are discounts there.
Oh my God, look, Drew, it's a dolphin. Oh my gosh.
Hey, Dr. Drew here, and even when we travel, we bring the new convenient fatty gummies. They're delicious, and they are portable, and they're great. And remember, this is a longevity ingredient. It fights against the oxidative stress on our cell membranes. We call that process ferroptosis, discovered in dolphin research by Dr. Van Watson. And I'm taking this every day, even when I travel. It's Fatty 15.
I don't see the profession doing anything to really build trust besides you.
Happy to be on here. Thank you for having me.
You and I see the world the same way.
What is it like for you to be the most chiseled and best looking man in media, giving us the information we need? Thank you for the truth.
My pleasure.
We are going to take your calls at 833-3-DRDREW.
Eric Bolling on X, ericbolling.com. Eric Bolling, The Edge on YouTube. New York Times bestselling author Eric Bolling still with us. And Eric, before we, I think we may get back to that Platner story, but I want to talk about something that we had promoted, which is the advent. People seem very sort of energized by this. The flock cameras. Explain to people what they are and what is happening there.
Yeah, this is a fascinating story, and it's very relevant, especially because the Supreme Court kind of ruled on it. We're still finding out the details. So the flock camera, a series of 90,000 plus cameras around the United States. Almost every state has it, if not every state. You look at states like Florida, California, Texas. If you looked at a heat map, almost every part of the state covered. What they do is they read license plates. Yeah.
Are these those the big poles that we see along the roads and at the freeways and things? Those would look like high-powered camera on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they're, as you can see right there, they're powered solar. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But there's literally a web of 90,000 plus cameras, and what they're doing is picking up license plates. They're reading license plates for everyone, not just people maybe like ICE uses them to find the illegals, etc. Police, law enforcement uses them for criminals. They love the ability to find a stolen car through license plates recognition. But there is a constitutional aspect to this. I'm libertarian, straight up libertarian, as strong as you can go. Yes, it's important to catch criminals, but it's more important to me, and I believe it's more important to America, that we don't gather this information without a warrant against people. In others, right now we're going through a hearing to see if there's enough probable cause to bring Tyler Robinson to court to be tried on the Charlie Kirk's murder. Now, the guy admitted to it, yet we're going to spend a week talking about the evidence and proof and what they can and can't prove. The problem with this is if you're just driving down the road, you want to have a nice drive on a Sunday afternoon, your license plate will likely be picked up. It'll go to a data center. You're not under suspicion of anything, yet they will keep that data. This is a private company, Doc. This is the other part of it. It's a private company. What do they do with the data? How do they use? How long do they keep it? Can it be used in, I don't know, maybe a divorce case? Can one party to a divorce petition this company to get where is my husband's car been? It goes into our private freedoms and liberties. I believe it's a violation of our Fourth Amendment rights to against illegal searches and seizures. I think the Supreme Court came down on something called geofencing. Now, we have geofencing where if you go into an area, if your phone gets into this area, it triggers marketing issues. You'll all of a sudden see local businesses who have paid to get those ads sent to your phone. And you'll see if you're in an area, sometimes you're getting those topics in the area. That is not illegal necessarily. What I'm concerned about was when they're geofencing everyone's movements when they're after one person. So right now you can get a warrant on someone. You can geofence him, find out where he's going. But with the data, with the way the data is right now and the technologies right now, they'll follow the person that has a warrant for his arrest or information or evidence, and it'll pick up everyone else in the area and it'll keep it. It won't discard everyone else. It'll keep it. So what happens when government decides, well, we want to know too what that person was doing. I'll give you one final thought. Ed Snowden is in Russia right now because he had to leave the country because he was a whistleblower against fellow NSA analysts who were using this surveillance system, not for criminals, but they were worried about their wives cheating on them or their girlfriends. Where are they going? Or maybe they have an arch enemy. They want to know what he's doing so they can nefariously do things to him. It was being abused. This system is guaranteed. I guarantee there are people abusing it right now. And it's rife for mass abuse. Unless we push back on it, the Supreme Court seems to be doing that right now. But the debate is whether the license plate is the same as the person, tracking the person.
It's so interesting to me because I sort of consider myself really naive on privacy issues. And when the Patriot Act came along, I'm like, oh, come on, you're not doing anything wrong. Who cares? Oh boy, it's so naive, so naive. It's just, there's no telling what government can do with information about us. That's the private company, bad enough, but the government's who we really need to be protected from. And
we've seen abuse, Doc. We have admitted abuse at the FISA court, the foreign surveillance courts. You literally have to petition the court to get a warrant to surveil someone, especially if they're a foreign actor or doing any communication with someone here in America. So you can almost, if someone calls you on the phone from outside the country, it could trigger. You may now be a foreign actor. They can get a warrant to follow and track you and tap into your phone records, into everything you do. And they've now proven that these things were being abused at the FISA court. That's why there are a lot of people who think maybe the FISA court needs to be rethunk. And that is, again, you nailed it. Patriot Act opened the door for a lot of these abuses.
Yeah, and dumb people like me went walking right through it, like complete idiots. Mea culpa, man. There's a couple things. Oh, Caleb, you put something up there about a Georgia officers admitting to using this material for something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's many stories of it being abused, but there was just one where 5 former South Georgia officers were arrested for misusing access to flock cameras. So it's not just that the cameras are capturing all this stuff, but who all are they giving this access to? Is it every police officer can just go and check up on every date they've ever been? Like, it seems like the access is being abused already.
Yeah.
Well, that's literally what Snowden was doing. Snowden exposed this activity where NSA, national security, at risk. These people are supposed to look for national security threats, and they were using it to check up on their girlfriends and their boyfriends and to this nature. And under our whistleblower laws, Snowden should have been allowed to expose this. But before he was able to, defend himself, they threatened to throw him in jail, maybe even execute him for treason, and he ran off to Russia. I think Snowden deserves a pardon, to be honest with you.
Eric, let's take a call together, see if there's something we can tackle together. This, I think, is Rick. He's in Indiana, I believe. Rick, go right ahead.
Hey, man. Thanks a lot. This is a great point. Snowden was a contractor and had no whistleblower status. He could not invoke the protection of being a whistleblower. And the statement by, is it William Clapper of CIA back in the day? And he says, not wittingly, when it comes to this collection of data. And his
James
statement
Clapper.
after the fact was, well, I tried, James, thank you. I tried to say the least, the least untrue thing I could as responding to you. And he was caught in that moment. So you guys are absolutely on the right path here, because FOIA has a whole section of it that's called FOIA exempt. And a statement that I've come up with for myself is secret law violates every title of U.S. code by authority of national interest or security. These are unpublished regulations. Secret law is occult decisis. And they do what they want. They got a memo in their file cabinet, and it's their interpretation, and they run with that. And they've been doing this to us.
So, Doc, Rick is pointing out something very important, because when this was happening, they brought James Clapper, he was the director of the NSA, to a Senate hearing, and Senator Wyden asked Clapper point blank, "Are you surveilling Americans without a warrant?" He literally leaned over, tried to figure out how to answer, and Rick is right. He said, not wittingly, but it wasn't a no. And guess what? For that, he literally lied to the Senate. It was a televised hearing because it was such a huge deal. He got zero penalty for lying to senators under oath that the NSA was in fact surveilling Americans. Whether they knew, it may not have been in the handbook to be able to do that, but it was a common practice, so common that Ed Snowden blew the whistle. Yeah, is there protections for people who aren't necessarily contractors, not actual employees of the NSA? Perhaps, but maybe that's a loophole in the whistleblower laws that we could close.
The idea that Rick brought up about these sort of backdoor laws and FOIA, sort of exemptions and things, those are all the loopholes and cracks through which corruption seems to be growing. Are somebody systematically doing something to clean this up? Is our current administration looking at that? Is the Justice Department aware? Where do you have any idea where we stand with all this?
Unfortunately, I don't think either side is looking into it, because they're both using it in their own way. I mean, I have not heard that the Trump administration, Kash Patel, or whoever the Attorney General will end up being. I'm hearing Todd Blanche may not get through the Senate now. There are people who are saying he might not be the actual Attorney General going forward, but none of them are talking about exposing and closing loopholes in laws or abuse of the systems like FISA court and FOIA and things like that. If you make a FOIA request, it's our constitutional right to know what has been decided on, what the communications were within Congress. You can make a FOIA request, Doc, to the FBI, for example. It could take a year or two for them to get back to you. It's literally a human being walking into a room of files, and when he or she decides to find the file, pull it out, make a copy, and send it to you, that's how they can slow walk the things that they don't want out there. That's literally the way it is. There should be FOIA requests with a time frame, with the time. We can digitize all the documents. Let's get the FOIA down to a place where transparency in what they're doing in DC is available to all of us on a timely manner.
Well, and you see what all the redactions do to confuse it and make it even more obscure. So it's not what the founding fathers had in mind, I don't think, but who am I to say? So what's coming up on the edge?
Oh, I don't know what's coming up. Yeah, more importantly, Doc, what's coming up on Nation's Dumbest? I was blown.
Where'd you hear about that?
I saw a promo, and I'm watching, and I see the guy from the crazy Johnny Knoxville
Steve-O.
character.
Steve-O.
Yeah, exactly. And then I see Dr. Drew there. I'm like, Doc, you're on this. You're going to crush them. I don't want you to win. I think you're going to come in last place. Because you're going to be the smartest of those crew.
Well, the whole idea, everyone's kind of in on the joke. There's some very bright people in this group. You'll be surprised. And Andrew Yang is in there with me. Andrew Yang is in there with me from presidential candidate. Great guy. It was. I'll tell you what. Fox Reality, I trust those guys, and they pitched this to me. I'm like, it's more than they're telling me. I know there's going to be more to this. And so I was glad I did it. We made a lot of good friends out of that group, and everyone's in on the joke. It is sort of, I think of it as Survivor meets Trivial Pursuit. because there's a lot of crazy stuff they have us doing.
Well, yeah,
and
they can do it. They can really.
Together.
They can go any way with that. They can give the people they want the tough ones. It's a brilliant idea for a show.
It worked.
To watch that.
It's surprising.
It worked, and the goal is to get out of there as fast as you can. That's the whole goal. And you'll have to. That's the one thing I'm not allowed to talk about is how fast I or anybody else got through this thing. But what's interesting about it. These reality shows, as soon as you go inside these sets, Stockholm syndrome develops so quickly. We all by the end of the first day, it was all so important to us that we get out of there. And it was, we all looked at each other and went, oh my God, Stockholm syndrome, we've all got it. And we went out to dinner a couple nights later. We had a day off. We went to dinner, and we all became good friends.
I haven't spoken to you. I'm just going to go on a limb and say Steve-O is likely. I would pick. I think he's odds on. He's the most likely. If I'm a very big betting man, he is the lowest odds to become the dumbest, nation's dumbest, so to speak. But what do I know?
There are people that will surprise you on this little cast. That I will tell you. And I because I competed with very, very smart people my whole life in training and stuff. I can spot smart even when people are trying to hide it. And so I knew who I was up against. And it's, again, so much of it is, I realized also when I was in there, and I thought, oh, this is as much as anything a game of chance, because some of the questions are areas I know nothing about, and other, sort of pop culture stuff, things like that. And other areas I know too well. So it was a very weird experience to walk through all that. But anyway, it was fun. The host is great. The production was huge.
To hang with Ice-T.
Yeah, Ice-T was in there. You forget.
We
got to spend spend time with Ice was really fun.
Cool.
He strikes me as a smart guy. I would call him like surprisingly smart, where you wouldn't know it watching some of the stuff.
I'm telling you. Yeah. There's a lot of smart people in there, but I appreciate you asking.
You're not going to tell me Corolla's an Einstein now. Don't tell me that.
Corolla's his own kind of little. He's his own evil genius. You've got to interview him sometime if you haven't. But we have to do a whole bunch of press for them on Thursday, and then the show airs July 15th, 14th. Susan, help me. July 14th or 15th. I think it's 15th. But Eric, I appreciate you always being here. I love your insights, and we will look for The Edge and on X, and we'll see you again very, very soon, no doubt.
Indeed. Thanks, Doc. Have a great next time I see you. That period.
You got it. Thank you. So coming up,
Great show.
July.
Sorry, I missed the first half.
It's all right.
Listening on the way.
Caleb and I found our way through.
I went to beautiful downtown LA.
Yeah.
So
how did you not get the car broken into again?
I parked in the right place, but where all the Armos are. But anyways, I saw a guy in a wrap skirt with flip-flops and sort of shuffling around. I saw a guy in the middle of the street. There's this one guy in a wheelchair who holds his cup in the middle of traffic. Like literally, like he's going to get, if you hit him, your life is over. But he just sits there. And I'm thinking to myself, Karen Bass, this is not safe for drivers. Like, even if it is if you don't care that this guy gets hit by a car, but every sidewalk has one homeless person there, and they're kind of, they're whistling at people or kind of making you uncomfortable as you walk by. It's really, really bad. And I was,
You're surprised?
No, but every time I go, I just go, wow, I can't believe.
Yeah, that's where the car got broken into. It was right there, right down the 1 block away from there.
And then my daughter was there, and I'm like, be careful, when you go get your car. But, I just can't imagine how she's allowing this to continue on a daily basis. It just blows my. And this is actually the nice part of town. Like, it's near Pershing Square. As you go down towards the Garment,
ground zero. You go towards Garment, it's worse. Yes, it's worse.
I remember going to the Flower District back in the day, and it was bad. But it's not the amount of homeless. It's the the way that they look and how the feeling, you just feel so bad for them. They're just
they're
sick.
allowed to deteriorate and die on the street. That is unconscionable. All right, coming up, John Bowden in here tomorrow. He says he has some new information for us. Brad Thayer. Next week, we're going to skip Thursday because we have to go, as I was discussing with Eric, I have to go promote that show. And then we're going up for our daughter's wedding. Nick Freitas, Uncle Cliff, Joshua Lysek, Naomi Wolf, Andrew Yang. This is just to give you a little hint of what's to come. Lots of great guests. Caleb, anything else about today? I felt you kind of wanted to ring in here and there.
Well, even the other thing he mentioned, Steve Hilton, who's running for governor of California. We actually have him scheduled for the 23rd of July. He'll be on.
Right. Any other comments about the topics from today? I feel like you were...
it's just so shocking the way the media has been presenting the Graham Platner story, because the moment that it was mentioned that he had a recently active account on the Kick app, anyone who's on the internet immediately knows what that means. Like there are no adults that go on that app except for specific reasons.
I'll tell you what,
not a welcome space.
There's something worthy... there's something going on here that is sort of, I suspect, I don't know Graham Platner, but my clinical eye tells me he is an alcoholic. And when he drinks, he goes into these rages, maybe even blacks out. Maybe he's a sex addict on top of that. And he's progressing. His only move, and we'll see if this is going to be in his future, is to go, I'm an alcoholic. I'm going into the program. I've got treatment underway. I didn't realize how bad my drinking was, but I can see the consequences now. And like millions of Americans, I'm going to get sober, and this is no longer acceptable behavior, but it's not in any way consistent with who I usually am, and I'm going to get sober. What would people do with that, Caleb, do you think?
I think that they would be okay with it, because I think he would be okay with it because he wouldn't go to jail. But you never, ever, ever hand a person like this any more power than they already have. You got to take the power away so they can get better.
Well, that's not my question. My question is, do you think he could weather this storm by taking that approach?
No, he couldn't weather this current storm. There's just too many, and it's every angle that specifically offends the left. Like he's actually forcing a lot of people on the left to very clearly betray their own principles and put their careers at risk. That's why everyone's suddenly dropping out today, because they're like, well, it's not just this, not just this, not just this. Well, now there's a stack. It's stacked up. It's time for him to go. So I don't think he could ever run as a Democrat.
That stack has been accumulating for months and months and months, and they've been completely ignoring it, it seems to me.
Yeah, nope. He's got to switch gears and become a full-on socialist. That's the only way.
Oh, what?
I mean, apparently that's what's winning elections these days in a lot of these places. He's got to switch gears, go full socialist, go Mondani, and try and get a following there, and he has to say he hates America a bit more.
Wow. The pendulum will swing. It just seems, it's like the flavor of the month, almost social. It doesn't, it's just a way to get voted in.
His history tells us otherwise.
No, it'll swing.
Once they get in, they change things so much that you can't get them out. That's the problem.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Appreciate you guys all being here. Tomorrow is a 4:00 show. We'll see you at 4:00 Pacific time tomorrow, Wednesday. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. Emily Barsh is our content producer. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.